Hey guys, welcome to new album review of my favorite bands, where I go from my least favorite to my favorite. A band I've been really looking forward to doing, Pink Floyd. Uh, Love this band. Definitely not metal, but great band. One of my favorite bands of all time, actually. But you know, uh, pretty much like everything they've done, except for the bottom four. I kind of already had in my mind what they were going to be, and I listened to them again the other day, and they still don't do anything for me. Unfortunately, I don't own them all. I own them all but four, and I'm planning on getting them all eventually. But again, I'm going to go from my least favorite to my favorite. Starting off would be number 15, album called Momentary Lapse of Reason. I know a lot of people would have this they might have this as their very favorite album. This album does nothing for me. It was after Roger Waters had left the fold, the first album without Roger Waters. After the final cut, they released this album, and I mean, it was a huge commercial success. I mean, it has Learning to Fly and Dogs of War, but I'm just not a fan of this album. I still am not. And you know what's funny? I love David Gilmour. I love his voice. Hell of a guitar player. I love his solo albums. I think his solo albums are better than he made 3 albums, but 2 in particular he did after Roger Waters left the fold. I think his solo albums, other than maybe About Face, are actually better than these 2 albums I'm about to talk about. But Momentary Lapse of Reason, 15, just doesn't do anything for me. It was supposed to be a David Gilmour solo album. Maybe I would appreciate it more if it was, because it just, to me, doesn't sound like Pink Floyd. And too commercial. I'm just not a fan. Number 15 is Momentary Lapse of Reason. Number 14, another album after Momentary Lapse of Reason. It's called The Division Bell. She's got a couple songs in here and tracks I like. I mean, I love the song High Hopes. Great song. You know, obviously singing about Sid Barrett. But that song Maroon, the instrumental is pretty good. But again, it's missing something. What they're missing is Roger Waters. But what are you gonna do? But I'm just not a huge fan of this album either. So number 14 is The Division Bell. Coming in number 13 is another album, unfortunately, I don't own. And if you would have asked me this a few years ago, I might have had it at the very bottom. I used to hate this album, and I know Roger Waters and David Gilmour said they can't stand this album, but it's kind of grown on me through time. It's called Atom Heart Mother. It's still not great, but it's, a decent enough album. I think this is a band still trying to find their way after, their leader, Sid Barrett, had a breakdown, and they brought in David Gilmour into the fold. But I'm still not that crazy about it. Number 13 is Atom Heart Mother. Coming in at number 12 is an album called, I don't know this album either, unfortunately, Umaguma. Half the album's new studio tracks. The other half is live recordings. I actually really like the live recordings on here. The studio versions I'm not crazy about. Basically, this is when you were doing a lot of vinyl LPs. Each band member got a side to an album. It was a double album. I don't care for any of the new studio recordings, pretty much. I mean, I don't like the one that Nick Mason does. Ooh, it's pretty brutal to try to get through. But I actually like the live recordings. But still, it doesn't do a whole lot for me. Number 12 is Umaguma. Coming in at number 11 is soundtrack to the film More. Not a great movie, but it's a pretty good soundtrack, actually. Had pretty good songs on here. Love the Now song. What's the other one? Cymbeline. By Zabar. I mean, it's a good enough album. Number 11 is More. It's a soundtrack to the movie. The film's horrible, but pretty good songs on here. Number 11 is More. Coming in at number 10 is the last album, Pink Floyd album, actually, which is, after the passing of Richard Wright, David Gilmour and Nick Mason put these songs together, and actually tracks that they never used from the Division Bell and some of the Momentary Lapse of Reason, albums, are basically outtakes, which is interesting. I actually find this album a lot better than the 2 albums I already mentioned. It's pretty much all instrumentals except for Louder Than Words. It's all instrumental. Maybe that's why I like it better. I think it's definitely an album worth checking out. Last studio album, it'll probably be the last album the band will ever do. Obviously, they're a lot older now, but I think it's a pretty decent album, actually. It's I remember when it got out, I was a little leery about getting it. It actually, I actually kind of like it. Maybe it's because I didn't have high expectations for it because Roger Waters wasn't in it, but actually pretty good. Number 10, Endless River. Coming in at number 9, and this really bothers me, I don't have it. The first album, Defeat. Well, Syd Barrett was still in the band officially, but I mean, he had already had a breakdown. Doing LSD and you're schizophrenic, I guess, is not a good mixture, and it's probably not a good mixture to do LSD anyway. But A Saucer Full of Secrets. Syd Barrett does play on Jug Band Blues, the only song he wrote, and I heard he, contributed to a couple other tracks, played a little guitar on the instrumental, A Saucer Full of Secrets. But considering Syd Barrett was his primary songwriter, not a bad album. I used to not really care for this album either, but actually I think it's pretty decent considering, you lose your primary songwriter, who was definitely the leader of the band. He wrote 90% of your material. To come up with this, it's actually pretty good. And first album to feature David Gilmour. Definitely last album with Syd Barrett. But number 9 is A Saucer Full of Secrets. Number 8, another soundtrack to obscured. The name of the movie is Obscured by Clouds. Definitely psychedelic looking, right? Pretty good album. I mean, album right before Dark Side of the Moon. But definitely better than More, soundtrack to More, but really good album. Some really good songs on here. Childhood's End, Free For is a great song. But that is number 8, Obscured by Clouds. Coming in number 7, The Final Cut, the last album to feature Roger Waters. A lot of people don't like this album. I actually really, really like this album a lot. I remember when it came out, I've always liked it. And I think, a lot of people say this is a lot of it features a lot of cuts that were supposed to be included on The Wall. Didn't make it to The Wall, and they put it on this album. There's some new songs on here too, but man, I think the song The Final Cut is great. Not Now John, Two Suns in the Sunset, The Gunner's Dream. I mean, it's definitely kind of a mellow album, but I think it's a good album. And again, last time to feature Roger Waters, but The Final Cut. Coming in number 6, to me, is when the band, after Barrett had his breakdown, and this is when they finally found their feet, to me, and this is the first true great album I think the band released after, losing Syd Barrett. Love this album. I was listening to this the other day. It's just killer, man. Just great stuff on here. And that's Metal. Really, really good album. One of These Days, of course, the instrumental. Fearless is a great song. I like Echoes. I mean, I think the whole album's just phenomenal. I mean, the rest of these albums I'm talking about are just 5-star albums to me. Great. This number 6 is Metal. Coming in at number 5 is The Piper at the Gates of Dawn, the only album really to feature Syd Barrett completely before he had his breakdown. He wrote 90% of the songs on here. A lot of people might not have it up this high. I love this album. I mean, kind of what could have been. They released this, they recorded this, the first album from the band. They recorded this in Abbey Road Studios, and they were recording actually when the Beatles were doing Sgt. Pepper. They were recording at the same time. So what I've read, the rumor is the Beatles used to come down and watch them record this, and this, Paul McCartney said, was his favorite new band. And of course, they went off the tracks right after this album came out. Barrett was obviously a big acid casualty, but I love this album. I mean, I love Astronomy Domini, Lucifer Sam, Matilda Mother, Scarecrow. Really, really good album. I mean, really odd, but good album. Number 5 is The Piper at the Gates of Dawn. Coming in at number 4 is album that a lot of people have this as their favorite album. I think a lot of it with me is I'm just really burnt out on it, but it is The Dark Side of the Moon. This is, their first big break album. I think the highest selling album of all time. I mean, this album still, I think it broke the record of being in the top Billboard Top 100 for more consecutive years than any other band ever. I mean, it still sells a lot of copies to this day. I mean, but for me, man, I'm just so burnt out on it. But you can't deny it's a great album. I mean, a lot of people would have this as their number 1. I understand why. It's just phenomenal. But I mean, I could do without ever hearing Money Again. I do still like Us and Them, you know, Breathe, and you know, Any Color You Like, Brain Damage, of course, Speak to Me. Just a phenomenal album. I mean, the rest of these albums are just perfect, but number 4 is Dark Side of the Moon. Coming in these top 3, man, were hard to do. But today, anyway, I'm going to have this at number 3. I feel guilty putting this at number 3, and that is Pink Floyd, Animals. I love this album, man. I mean, you know, we only got 6 tracks. I mean, you got your, Pigs on the Wing, the real shortest song on the album, and then it ends off Pigs on the Wing 2. But I mean, Dogs, Pigs, 3 different ones, and Sheep. Just a great album. Number 3, I love this album, Animals. Coming in number 2, Wish You Were Here. I mean, a complete tribute to Syd Barrett, which most of these albums are. I mean, it's amazing to me, you know, even to this day, if you listen to Roger Waters or David Gilmour solo stuff, they'll still talk about Barrett in a lot of their songs, Madness or whatever, but just a great album. And the rumor, is a fact, when they were recording this, Syd Barrett actually showed up at the studio and had completely shaved his head, shaved his eyebrows, and, you know, a lot of the reason, you know, the Pink Floyd The Wall, you know, they got a lot of the ideas from that as well, from these sessions. But just a great album, front to back. I mean, Shine You Crazy Diamond Part 1, Welcome to the Machine, Have a Cigar. The song Wish You Were Here, I'm burnt out on, but still a great song. Shine You Crazy Diamond Part 2, phenomenal. It's a great album. Number 2 is Wish You Were Here. And coming in number 1, I like the soundtrack. I mean, I guess when I was a kid, taking certain substances, and just really, really enjoyed this album. I still to this day do. Just a great album, front to back, and that is The Wall. You know, it's basically, I mean, Roger Waters put it together. I mean, David Gilmour did co-write a couple songs on here, like Run Like Hell and Comfortably Numb, and there's another song he did on here too, but it's pretty much Roger Waters and Richard Wright by this point. It was just a side man in the fold, but just a great album, front to back. To me, one of the greatest albums ever made. And it still holds up to me. I mean, I don't want to ever hear Another Brick in the Wall Part 2 again, but I mean, front to back, a great, great album. I mean, The Thin Ice, Mother, Goodbye Blue Sky, Empty Spaces, Young Lust, One of My Turns, you know. Hey You, which was actually not in the actual film, but I mean, that's a great song. Run Like Hell, really, really good songs on here. But number 1 is The Wall. So I'm going to go back. Number 1, The Wall. Number 2, Wish You Were Here. Number 3, Animals. Number 4, The Dark Side of the Moon. Number 5, The Piper at the Gates of Dawn. Right? Am I still going the right way? Yeah. Number 6, Metal. Number 7, The Final Cut. Number 8, Obscured by Clouds. Number 9, A Saucer Full of Secrets. Again, I can't believe I don't own that. Number 10, Endless River. Number 11 is More. Number 12 is Umaguma. Number 13 is Atom Heart Mother. Number 14 is Division Bell. And number 15 is A Momentary Lapse of Reason. So, another great band. You know, and again, real quick, I have to, I've seen this movie a million times. Just something me and my buds would watch a lot when we were kids, and it's basically just a musical movie, but I love it. Bob Geldof plays Pink, but I won't pull it all out. But great film. So as is Live at Pompeii, I enjoy this, man. I'm a Pink Floyd nerd. I love this band, but really good stuff. I mean, go on, and I'm probably going to eventually rank the albums of David Gilmour and Roger Waters too, because I love them both very much. I mean, you got the early singles, which is basically a lot of stuff that didn't make it on the album with Barrett. Arnold Lane's on here and See Emily Play, but Kenny and the Current Bond, Apples and Oranges. Hard to find album here, but it's pretty cool. The early singles, and Syd Barrett only released 2 solo albums, but I don't, believe it or not, have Barrett. Got the T-shirt, but I do not have. But I do have the Madcap Blast, which is basically after he already lost his mind. But David Gilmour, who's an old school friend of his, helped produce both these albums. I heard it was a nightmare because, you know, Sid Barrett at this point was not even, he was even hard to even talk to. And we'd do a take on a song, he would never do it the same way. He'd always change it up. So it was just a nightmare. But I know Roger Waters helped co-write or help produce the first album. Then it was all David Gilmour. And I think Richard Wright helped a little bit on the second, but he only did 2 solo albums. And one of them is this, the Madcap Blast. It's worth checking out. I do have a compilation here, though, that's good, too. But, you know, I got some documentaries on Sid Barrett, too. You know, definitely it's amazing to me. I think I'm more fascinated the fact that the band, even right after they broke up, was still writing songs about Sid Barrett. He had such a profound effect on them, others as well. And they would have been a totally different sounding band if Barrett would have not, you know, had a breakdown. But hope you enjoyed it. Again, if you like what you see, please hit like and subscribe to it, and try to do some anytime I can. I get a little busy, but I got some stuff I want to do, like Exodus and Megadeth, Jimi Hendrix, a lot of the cool stuff, Meshuggah, a lot of bands that I like. You know, I'm just doing it for fun, but I hope you enjoyed it. And again, hit like and subscribe if you did. See you guys soon. Later.